Welcome, traveler, to Sleeping Legends. But before we journey into the dark, tell me, where are you watching from, and what time is it in your world right now? Drop it in the comments. I love seeing how far these whispers reach across the night. Because survival back then wasn't just cloaks and campfires. It was wit, hidden strength, and choices that still echo through the ages. So wrap yourself in a blanket, dim the lights, and listen closely. The night has a story for you. If you're drawn to ancient mysteries and soothing tales from the edge of history, don't forget to like, subscribe, and ring the bell, so you never miss a midnight legend. And when this tale ends, there are more waiting in the dark, haunted castles, forgotten kings, and myths that refuse to die. Tonight, we're traveling back in time, way back. Forget the movies, forget the textbooks. This is the real story of Homo sapiens. And trust me, you probably wouldn't last a single day. So, before you get too comfortable, hit that like button if you enjoy these kinds of deep dives, and let me know in the comments, what's the farthest back in time you dare to live? Alright, dim the lights, maybe grab a snack, and let's jump in. But, don't get too attached to that snack. For most of human history, food wasn't a given. You wake up. It's cold. Your stomach growls. No fridge. No DoorDash. No latte. Just you, your clan, and a very sharp rock. Congratulations. You're Homo sapiens, fresh out of Africa, somewhere around 300,000 years ago. Your day. Hunt. Gather. Try not to get eaten. That's it. There are no Mondays, no Netflix. Just survival. And honestly, the smell, let's just say deodorant, won't be invented for a long time. Now, imagine walking out of Africa, on foot. No maps. No snacks. Just endless horizon. Your people spread across the Middle East, into Asia, Europe, Australia. Eventually, the whole planet is your Airbnb. Oh, and plot twist, you're not alone. Neanderthals are already chilling in Europe. Denisovans in Asia. And let's be real, you hook up. That's why some of you watching this literally have Neanderthal DNA. Comment below if your sibling still acts like it. This is the cognitive revolution. Suddenly, you're not just making stone axes, you're making stories. You paint animals on cave walls. You carve little statues. You bury your dead with care. You invent gossip. Because let's face it, gossip is power. Knowing who cheated who on the mammoth hunt? Priceless. This is where imagination takes off. You don't just survive, you create culture. And honestly, that's the real superpower of Homo sapiens. Picture this, Ice Age. It's brutal. You huddle around fire while glacier tower nearby. You wear animal skins that smell, well, like the animal. You hunt mammoths the size of buses. Sometimes you win. Sometimes you become mammoth food. And slowly, step by step, you conquer every continent. By 15,000 years ago, you're everywhere except Antarctica. Penguins are still safe, for now. And then, the big switch. Agriculture. Instead of chasing dinner, you grow it. Wheat, rice, corn. You tame goats, cows, and, most importantly, dogs. Suddenly, you have extra food. Villages grow. Populations boom. And with farming comes back pain, tooth decay, pandemics. Yay, progress. But it sets the stage for cities, civilizations, and the messy roller coaster called human history. Now you're in a city. There are temples, kings, writing systems, cuneiform, hieroglyphs, oracle bones. Humans finally start leaving Yelp reviews of their own existence. You get pyramids, palaces, empires. You get Hinduism, Buddhism, Christianity, Islam. You also get wars, taxes, and traffic jams. Humanity's basically invented civilization and chaos in the same breath. Fast forward, Renaissance, Enlightenment, scientific revolution. Suddenly, humans figure out planets, gravity, germs. Then the Industrial Revolution hits, steam engines, railroads, factories. The world shrinks. Populations explode. By the 20th century, you've got world wars, nuclear bombs, moon landings, and TikTok. In 300,000 years, you've gone from stone tools to AI, from fire to iPhones. So here we are, 8 billion humans, connected by invisible wires, facing climate change, AI, and the possibility of colonizing Mars. From cold caves to glowing screens, the story of Homo sapiens isn't finished, it's still being written. By you, by me, by all of us. So I'll leave you with this. In another 300,000 years, what will humans look back on us and think? Let me know in the comments what you think the next chapter of humanity should be. This isn't a horror movie. This is just a Tuesday night for early Homo sapiens. And yet, from moments like this, from cold mornings, half-burnt mammoth meat, and way too many fleas, we built the world you live in right now. Tonight, we're going to tell the entire 250,000-year story of Homo sapiens. No sugarcoating. No textbook fluff. Just the gritty, funny, terrifying truth of how we went from starving apes to scrolling on TikTok at 3 a.m. And if you enjoy these kinds of deep dives, hit that like button. Seriously, it helps more than mammoth fur in a snowstorm. And let me know in the comments where in the world you're watching from. Because trust me, your ancestors probably walked there. You open your eyes in East Africa. The sun is brutal, the insects are louder than your thoughts, and you are hungry. Always hungry. Your tribe is small, maybe 20, 30 people at most. Everyone smells like smoke, sweat, and whatever animal guts they handled yesterday. There's no privacy. If you snore, everyone hates you. If you slack off on gathering berries, everyone really hates you. But here's the thing, you're smart. Not just find food, avoid lion smart. You can plan. You can imagine. You can whisper to your clan that maybe, just maybe, tomorrow's hunt could work better if you surround the animal instead of just chasing it until half of you collapse. And that tiny leap, that fragile, flickering thought, is the beginning of what makes us, us. For tens of thousands of years, your people wander. You're not stuck in one place. You're explorers, nomads, opportunists. You follow herds. You scavenge what lions leave behind. You test new plants. Some are food, some kill you, some make the fire look like it's dancing. But the real story here isn't what you eat. It's what you start to believe. You look at the stars and think they're not just lights, they're ancestors. You bury your dead with tools or beads, as if they'll need them wherever they're going. You tell stories around fires, some true, some total nonsense, but all of them shaping how your clan sees the world. And this, right here, is where Homo sapiens stops being just another clever ape. We're the ape that makes meaning. Picture this, a small group of your people looks across the Red Sea and says, yeah, let's go that way. No boats, no GPS, just raw nerve and a complete disregard for common sense. And they make it. This is the Great Migration, Homo sapiens spreading into Arabia, India, Southeast Asia, and beyond. Within a blink of evolutionary time, your cousins are everywhere. Hunting kangaroos in Australia, fishing in Indonesia, stalking mammoths in Siberia. Of course, it's not all peaceful expansion. In Europe, you meet Neanderthals, shorter, bulkier, and very into survival. Sometimes you fight them. Sometimes you don't fight them. Fast forward to today, and many of you watching this have about 2% Neanderthal DNA. So if your sibling is a little hairier than average, you've got history to thank. This is the cognitive revolution, and it's a total game changer. You, yes, you, are suddenly inventing myths, gods, rules, and rituals. You're not just drawing animals on walls, you're painting entire worldviews. You carve the Venus of Willendorf, a little stone figurine celebrating fertility. You develop language so advanced you can gossip about people who aren't even there. And gossip? That's the original internet. It connects groups, builds trust, ruins reputations, and creates alliances. Without it, your tribe is just 20 apes. With it, you can unite hundreds, even thousands, around shared ideas, like spirits, laws, or who gets first dibs on mammoth ribs. You live in an ice age. Food is scarce. Cold bites through your furs. And mammoths. They're not cartoon elephants. They're aggressive, dangerous, and weigh 6 tons. Your clan invents better weapons. Spears, bows, traps. You start building shelters out of mammoth bones, covering them with hides. Inside, it smells like smoke and sweat and unwashed feet, but it's warm. Every hunt is brutal, every winter terrifying. But slowly, you win. You spread. By the end of the Ice Age, your kind is in the Americas too. You've officially conquered the world. Take that, penguins. Well, except Antarctica. Still too cold. And then, something shocking happens. You stop moving. You start planting. You invent farming. The Fertile Crescent in Mesopotamia becomes humanity's experiment field. Wheat, barley, goats, sheep. In China, it's rice. In the Americas, maize and beans. It's brilliant, right? You don't chase food, it grows for you. Except, farming is kind of a scam. You work longer hours. Your diet gets worse. Diseases spread in crowded villages. Cavities appear. Arthritis flares. But farming allows one thing that hunting and gathering never could: surplus. More food means more babies. More babies mean bigger villages. Bigger villages mean problems. And congratulations, civilization is on its way. You're in Mesopotamia now. Cities rise. Uruk, Babylon. Ziggurats pierce the sky. Writing scratches its way into clay tablets. You can record laws, poetry, shopping lists. In Egypt, pyramids rise. In India, the Indus Valley builds planned cities with plumbing. In China, oracle bones whisper the future. In the Americas, Olmecs carve colossal heads. And here's the catch: for every golden temple, there's a tax collector knocking on your mud brick door. For every dazzling script, there's someone rewriting history to make the king look good. Civilizations are amazing and exhausting. Empires explode across the globe. Rome, Persia, Greece, Maurya, Gupta, Han, Maya, Inca, Aztec. Some are brutal. Some are brilliant. Most are both. And religions rise. Hinduism, Buddhism, Judaism, Christianity, Islam. They don't just guide your soul, they organize societies, justify wars, and inspire art. Trade connects the world through silk, spices, gold. Ideas spread with it. So do plagues. If you've ever had a flu knock you flat, imagine the Black Death wiping out half of Europe. Suddenly, the modern pandemic doesn't feel so unique, does it? Europe's Renaissance and Enlightenment kick off revolutions in thought. You realize the Earth orbits the Sun, that germs cause disease, that rights belong to humans, not just kings. And then comes the Industrial Revolution. Steam engines hiss. Railroads crisscross continents. Cities swell with smoke, sweat, and opportunity. It's the era of insane progress and insane inequality. You can travel faster than ever, read more books than ever, and also die in factory accidents more than ever. But the pace of change? Unstoppable. The 20th century is chaos and wonder wrapped into one. 2 world wars tear the planet apart. Nuclear weapons threaten to end it all. But you also get airplanes, antibiotics, moon landings, and rock and roll. The population skyrockets, from under 2 billion in 1900 to over 8 billion today. The internet links us instantly. AI begins to think alongside us. Space probes leave the solar system. And you, yes, you, are watching this video in your pajamas, a luxury your ancestors couldn't even imagine. So here we are. From cold caves to glowing screens. From stone knives to smartphones. From a handful of clans in Africa to billions spread across the planet. The story of Homo sapiens is messy, bloody, brilliant, ridiculous. But it's ours. And it's not finished. So I'll leave you with this. In 300,000 years, if humans still exist, what will they remember us for? Tell me in the comments. Do you think our greatest achievement is behind us, or still ahead? Alright, let's pause for a second. We've covered migrations, revolutions, empires. But what did day-to-day life actually feel like for most of human history? Spoiler: not glamorous. Imagine your morning routine. No toothbrush, no coffee, no shower. You wake up on dirt. Your back aches because the ground doesn't care about spinal health. The smell? A pungent mix of sweat, smoke, blood, and whatever died nearby last night. Breakfast? If you're lucky, berries or dried meat. If you're unlucky, nothing. Your clothes are scratchy hides, stiff with old sweat and animal fat. Shoes? Maybe some leather tied around your feet if you're fancy. And don't get me started on bugs. Fleas, ticks, lice. Your scalp is basically a free Airbnb. And yet, it wasn't all misery. Imagine the taste of freshly roasted meat after starving for days. Imagine the stars at night, no city lights, just the Milky Way blazing like a cosmic highway. Imagine the thrill of a successful hunt, the drumbeat of your people celebrating, the firelight dancing across painted walls. Life was hard, but it was also raw, vivid, and deeply alive. Now let's talk rivals. Because for a long time, Homo sapiens weren't the only humans on the block. Neanderthals in Europe, shorter, stronger, with bigger brains than us. They survived Ice Age winters that would kill you in a day. They made tools, buried their dead, maybe even sang. Honestly, they were impressive. Denisovans in Asia, mysterious cousins we barely know. We've only found a finger bone, a few teeth, and a jaw, but DNA says they hooked up with our ancestors too. Some Tibetans today have Denisovan genes that help them breathe in thin mountain air. And then there were the hobbits. No joke, on the island of Flores lived Homo floresiensis, a species barely over 3 feet tall. Real-life hobbits. So why did we survive and they didn't? The brutal truth: we outcompeted, outbred, and maybe outright wiped them out. We were faster at adapting, quicker to cooperate, better at telling stories that bonded us into massive tribes. And in evolution, cooperation beats brute strength almost every time. So yeah, we weren't the nicest neighbors. Let's be honest, most of human history was deadly. Half of all kids, dead before age 5. A cut on your foot could kill you if it got infected. Toothache could become life-threatening. Childbirth, one of the most dangerous things you could go through. And disease. Once we settled into villages, epidemics became regular guests. Imagine the stench of waste in a city with no sores. Imagine rats swarming in the dark, fleas jumping, and suddenly half your town is coughing blood. And yet, we kept going. We buried our dead, mourned, and then got up the next day to plow fields or chase deer. Survival wasn't optional. It was instinct. Farming gets painted as this peaceful revolution. Wheat waving in the breeze, happy villagers smiling with baskets. Nah, farming was backbreaking. You're hunched over, digging in the dirt under the blazing sun. Your hands are blistered. Your back is screaming. You eat the same 3 foods every day. Wheat, wheat, and, oh look, more wheat. Your body, malnourished. Farmers were actually shorter and sicker than hunter-gatherers. But farming let populations explode. And with more people came armies, kings, and pyramids. So in a way, the first farmer traded health for history. Here's the real cheat code of Homo sapiens: imagination. We invent invisible rules and then live by them. Money, just pieces of metal or numbers on a screen, unless we all agree it's valuable. Laws only exist because we pretend they do. Nations, imaginary lines drawn on real land. Religion, shared stories that unite thousands, sometimes millions of strangers. These fictions were powerful. They let humans cooperate on scales no other animal could dream of. Ants cooperate, sure, but only because of instinct. We cooperate because of stories. That's why a guy in Rome could rule people in Egypt he'd never met. That's why you and I care about paper called passports. The secret superpower of our species isn't strength, or even intelligence. It's belief. Progress always has a price. Agriculture brought inequality. Cities brought crime. Empires brought war. Think about it. For most of history, if you weren't rich, you were working from dawn to dusk just to stay alive. You didn't have weekends. You didn't retire. You worked until you dropped. Slavery, conquest, and exploitation weren't bugs in the system. They were the system. Every pyramid, palace, and cathedral had human suffering built into its bricks. It's easy to romanticize history until you realize most people were starving, overworked, and terrified of what tomorrow might bring. And yet, art, music, love, laughter still existed. Humans don't stop making meaning, even in misery. Here's the thing, we didn't just adapt to the world. We remade it. When we hunted mammoths, they disappeared. When we farmed land, forests fell. When we built cities, rivers shifted. And in the last few centuries, we've gone nuclear. Factories, cars, plastic, skyscrapers. In 300,000 years, Homo sapiens have become the single most dominant force on Earth. That's not bragging, it's a warning. No other species has rewritten the planet's rules this fast. The air, the oceans, the soil, everything is different because of us. You're living in the Anthropocene, the age of humans. But whether that's a golden age or a cautionary tale is still undecided. So what now? We've hacked genes, built machines that think, and sent rockets into space. We've made virtual worlds, digital identities, and algorithms that know you better than your best friend. But the future isn't guaranteed. Climate change, AI, nuclear weapons, pandemics, our species faces challenges just as deadly as any saber-toothed cat. And yet, that's the magic. For 250,000 years, against impossible odds, Homo sapiens have adapted, improvised, survived. Will we do it again? Probably. The only question is how we'll change in the process. Will we still even be human in 1,000 years? Or will we become something new? From starving apes in Africa to a species that can edit DNA and livestream its breakfast. From cave paintings to skyscrapers. From sharp rocks to smartphones. The journey wasn't clean. It wasn't noble. It was bloody, exhausting, hilarious, tragic, and miraculous all at once. And now, the next chapter is ours to write. So I'll leave you with this question. When the future looks back at us, what story will they tell? Drop your answer in the comments. And hey, if you made it through 300,000 years in under half an hour, hit subscribe. Because this isn't just history. It's your story too. Alright, let's talk about something history books rarely admit, love and sex. Because, honestly, that's been driving our species just as much as food. Picture it, 30,000 years ago, you're in a small clan. Maybe 40 people total. Dating pool? Limited. Forget swiping on Tinder. You're probably looking at your second cousin across the fire. Awkward. But love still mattered. Courtship dances, painted bodies, carved jewelry. A gift of fresh meat was the ultimate romantic gesture. Flowers die fast. Mammoth steak lasts all night. And let's not ignore the drama. Jealousy, affairs, fights over partners. These aren't modern inventions. Imagine two men brawling with spears not over hunting rights, but because one of them winked at the wrong cave girl. Now let's talk food. Early humans ate whatever they could get. Roasted meat, charred roots, bitter leaves, honey stolen from angry bees. A feast wasn't fancy, it was survival. Later, as farming spread, diets narrowed. Wheat gruel, barley bread, maybe lentils if you were lucky. Meat was rare unless you were rich. Salt? Priceless. Spices? Worth crossing oceans and starting wars for. Think about that next time you complain about your Uber Eats order being late. Your ancestors ate boiled weeds for dinner and thought it was gourmet. And drink. Beer and wine go way back. The first farmers didn't just grow grains for bread, they fermented them. Archaeologists even think beer might have come before bread. So yes, humans invented happy hour thousands of years before Starbucks. What about music? The oldest known instruments are flutes made from bird bones, over 40,000 years old. Imagine it, a cave lit by fire, shadows dancing, and the haunting sound of bone flute melodies echoing through the dark. Music wasn't just entertainment, it was magic. It synchronized movements in hunts. It bonded communities. It turned chaos into rhythm. And drums? Universal. From Africa to the Arctic, from temples to battlefields, drums made hearts beat together. Every time you tap your foot to a song, you're echoing something carved into us long before cities, long before writing. Music is one of the most human things we do. History isn't just about triumphs, it's about screw-ups. Whole civilizations collapsed because leaders got greedy, careless, or unlucky. Mesopotamian cities turned into deserts because of over-farming. Easter Island chopped down its last tree and starved. The Maya built incredible cities, then droughts and wars tore them apart. And every empire thought it would last forever. Spoiler, none did. Rome fell. The Mongols crumbled. Great dynasties vanished. So here's a humbling truth. Every skyscraper you see today, every nation, every empire, it's temporary. Someday, someone might be filming a video about our collapse. And maybe they'll laugh at how we thought plastic straws were the peak of global crisis. Here's the thing, history books love kings and generals. But most of human history wasn't about them, it was about regular people. Farmers who bent over fields from sunrise to sunset. Fishermen who risked drowning for a meal. Mothers who gave birth in smoky huts. Kids who played with carved dolls or bones. These people didn't leave monuments. They didn't write epic poems. But they are the reason humanity survived. So next time you see a photo of the pyramids, remember, behind every stone, there were thousands of calloused hands, blistered feet, and aching backs. Their names are lost, but their sweat is still there, baked into the stones. Want to know something wild? So much of your daily life is inherited from people thousands of years ago. The 7-day week, ancient Babylonians, the alphabet, Phoenicians, democracy, Greeks, though very imperfect, the calendar you're using, Romans. Even toothpaste existed in ancient Egypt, though it was basically crushed rock and burnt eggshells. Yummy. So when you brush your teeth in the morning, text a friend, or binge-watch Netflix, you're living inside inventions stacked layer on layer, generation after generation. Humanity isn't just a story, it's a giant Jenga tower we've been building for 250,000 years. Let's just hope it doesn't topple. Curiosity drove us forward, but sometimes it got dark. We burned forests to clear land. We experimented with poisons just to see what happened. We waged wars over salt, silver, and who insulted whose god. Weapons advanced faster than medicine. You could stab a man long before you could cure an infection. But curiosity also gave us art, fire, wheels, medicine, flight, computers. The same urge that made someone taste a sketchy berry also made someone look at the sky and say, "What if we go there?" Curiosity is dangerous, but without it, we'd still be in caves. Remember that first big migration out of Africa? Guess what? Humans never stopped moving. Nomads crossed steppes. Polynesians sailed vast oceans in canoes. Vikings raided and settled. Millions migrated for trade, war, famine, or hope. Even today, humans are still on the move, refugees, explorers, astronauts. Migration isn't an exception in our story, it's the rule. Your ancestors were wanderers. That urge you feel on road trips, the thrill of travel? It's not just wanderlust, it's evolution whispering, keep moving. You might think life was all suffering, but people always found humor. Roman graffiti shows crude jokes. Medieval manuscripts are full of doodles, knights fighting snails, monks drawing butts in the margins. Even in the trenches of World War I, soldiers told jokes, sang songs, pulled pranks. Humor is survival. When everything hurts, when death is near, laughter says, "We're still here." So yes, your ancestors were laughing long before stand-up comedy. Probably at fart jokes. Some things never change. And now, let's peek forward again. Will we stay human? Or become something else entirely? Already, We have artificial intelligence, genetic editing, cybernetics. Some scientists think we'll merge with machines. Others think we'll spread to the stars. Maybe in 10,000 years, Homo sapiens won't exist, not because we went extinct, but because we evolved into something new. So when future archaeologists dig up our ruins, will they say, this was the beginning of humanity, or this was the end? In the end, the story of Homo sapiens isn't a straight line. It's a messy, winding tale of hunger and hope, blood and brilliance. We've made mistakes. We've built wonders. We've laughed, loved, and fought across every inch of this planet. And now, it's our turn to decide where the story goes next. So tell me in the comments, if you could send one message to humans 250,000 years from now, what would it be? And hey, don't forget to like, subscribe, and share this video. Because if our ancestors could survive saber-toothed cats, plagues, and empires falling, we can survive hitting that little red button. Let's get inside the head of early humans. Because survival wasn't just physical, it was mental. Imagine the constant paranoia. Every rustle in the grass could be a predator. Every shadow could hide danger. That little shot of adrenaline when you hear a noise at night? For your ancestors, that was life insurance. Fear kept us alive. But so did hope. The belief that tomorrow's hunt might succeed, that fire would last till morning, that children would survive the winter. And grief. Oh, it was everywhere. Infant deaths, starvation, accidents. But humans processed loss through ritual, story, and community. Grief was never solitary, it was shared. So yes, you've inherited anxiety, hope, grief, and resilience. They're not flaws, they're features, wired into us by 250,000 years of survival. People think technology means smartphones and spaceships. Nope. Fire wasn't just warmth, it was chemistry. Cooking unlocked calories our brains needed to grow. And ropes, yes, ropes, were game changers. Twisted fibers let us tie things, build shelters, trap animals, drag heavy loads. Honestly, ropes are as important as the internet. Try living without either, you'll see. So next time your Wi-Fi cuts out, remember, once upon a time, your ancestors' tech support was figuring out how to sharpen a stick. Humans love rituals. They're weird, dramatic, sometimes bloody, but they glue societies together. Initiation ceremonies marked the shift from child to adult. Sacrifices, animals, sometimes humans, were offered to gods to bargain for rain, crops, or victory. Burials grew more elaborate. Beads, weapons, even pets were buried alongside their owners. Imagine the smell of incense, the wailing of mourners, the eerie silence as a body was lowered into the earth. And let's not forget festivals. Even in harsh times, people feasted, danced, and celebrated cycles of the moon, harvests, and victories. Rituals gave meaning to chaos. Your birthday candles? That's just the modern, sanitized descendant of ancient fire rituals. Congrats, you're still a caveman with better cake. History remembers kings and conquerors, but the true heroes were anonymous. The first healer who figured out which plants soothed pain. The potter who discovered clay hardens in fire. The midwife who delivered babies in huts and tents. The blacksmith who shaped metal into tools. The sailor who dared to leave shore. The farmer who noticed seeds grow better in tilled soil. They had no fame, no statues, no Wikipedia page. But without them, no empires, no pyramids, no YouTube channel explaining all this. So maybe the next time you walk past a nurse, a builder, a farmer, you're looking at the modern echoes of those forgotten heroes. Let's not romanticize the past. It stank. Caves smelled like smoke, sweat, and rotting bones. Early cities reeked of human waste, dead animals, and open sores. Battlefields, blood, guts, unwashed bodies. Perfume was invented for a reason. Egyptians used oils. Romans bathed in rosewater. Medieval nobles stuffed herbs into their clothes. But the worst smell? Disease. Imagine the Black Death. Entire streets lined with corpses. The air thick with decay, fear, and incense from desperate priests. History didn't smell like parchment and marble, it smelled like people. And people are funky. Close your eyes and imagine sound 1,000 years ago. No cars, no airplanes, no phones. You'd hear animal bells, blacksmiths hammering, chickens clucking, merchants shouting. In villages, silence was rare. There was always wind, footsteps, barking dogs, clattering tools. In battle, deafening, clashing steel, arrows whistling, drums beating time. And at night, stillness. Except for wolves howling, owls screeching, lovers whispering in the dark. Soundscapes have changed. Today, it's car horns and notifications. Back then, it was hoofbeats and crackling fire. Both, in their way, are the soundtrack of survival. Touch connected humans to their world. Rough stone tools scraped palms. Animal hides itched against skin. Rope fibers cut into fingers. Touch also meant comfort. A hand on a shoulder after loss. Children clinging to parents. Lovers' warmth under furs. Touch was survival. Holding hands crossing rivers. Carrying baskets. Nursing the sick. Every scar on your ancestors' hands told a story. And those stories are literally etched into your DNA. Humans thrive on lies. Big, useful lies. The king is divine. The empire will last forever. Our people are chosen. This war will be quick. These lies united millions, justified conquest, kept societies functioning. Were they true? Nope. Did they work? Absolutely. And we're still doing it. This app will change your life. This diet works. This country is the greatest ever. Lies aren't just ancient, they're eternal. And sometimes, they're the only glue holding us together. Curiosity took us to new lands, but it also brought disease. Smallpox, measles, plague. When humans moved, germs moved too. Indigenous Americans died in the millions after contact with Europeans. Whole villages vanished. Medieval Europe lost a third of its population to the Black Death. Imagine the silence of abandoned towns, the fear in every cough. And yet, pandemics reshaped history. Labor shortages ended feudalism. Scientific inquiry grew. Suffering sparked change. So when you complain about Zoom calls during a pandemic, remember, your ancestors faced death carts, not bad Wi-Fi. Not literal fireworks, though those came from ancient China, but symbolic ones. Moments where humanity exploded with creativity. The Renaissance, art, science, perspective. The Enlightenment, philosophy, rights, revolutions. The Industrial Age, machines, cities, locomotives. Every few centuries, it's like the species gets bored, then reinvents itself. Bursts of brilliance rewriting everything. The scary part? We might be in one right now. AI, space exploration, biotech, fireworks that could light the future or burn it down. Not all revolutions were grand. Some were whispers, small acts of defiance. A peasant hiding grain from tax collectors. A woman secretly teaching girls to read. A monk scribbling forbidden notes in a margin. Tiny rebellions piled up into big changes. Freedom isn't just made by kings, it's made by nobodies refusing to stay quiet. So yes, sometimes history changes because of battles. But more often, because an ordinary human said, no, not this time. Here's the truth, Homo sapiens are not guaranteed to last forever. Dinosaurs ruled for 165 million years. We've barely made it 250,000. We are a blip. But what a blip. We've filled caves with art, skies with machines, space with satellites. We've built and destroyed, loved and mourned, laughed and cried. Our story isn't neat. It's chaotic, beautiful, terrifying, and deeply human. And you, right now, are part of it. You know what separates humans from other animals? Imagination. A wolf sees prey. A human sees prey, and then imagines a story about it. If I kill this deer, my family survives. If I fail, we starve. But if I paint this deer on the cave wall, maybe the gods will help. That mental leap, to make stories about things that don't exist, that's our superpower. It let us invent gods, nations, money, laws. None of those are real in the physical sense. But they're real because we all agree they are. So yes, your ability to daydream in math class is literally the same mental engine that built the pyramids. Let's talk drugs. Yep, your ancestors did them. Mushrooms in Europe, peyote in the Americas, cannabis in Asia. Fermented honey turned into mead before beer ever existed. Shamans used psychedelics to talk to spirits. Villagers used alcohol to dull the endless grind of survival. And don't forget coffee and tea, ancient stimulants that fueled empires as much as swords. So if you think your morning latte is just a habit, nope. It's part of a 10,000-year-old human tradition of altering reality. Congrats, you're basically a caveman barista. Nature didn't care about human progress. Every so often, it reset the board. Supervolcanoes like Toba nearly wiped us out 74,000 years ago. Floods drowned entire settlements. Earthquakes crushed cities. Droughts turned farmland into dust bowls. Even diseases, like smallpox or plague, were nature's brutal reminders. You are clever apes, but still fragile apes. And yet, every time we rebuilt. Different place, new tools, better walls. Humanity's greatest invention might not be fire or the wheel, it's stubbornness. Imagine packing everything you own on your back. Now walk. For weeks, months, years, generations. That's the story of human migration. We left Africa, crossed deserts, mountains, and oceans. Some went north into ice and snow. Others followed rivers east into Asia. Still others rafted across seas to Australia long before compasses existed. And migration never stopped. Romans marched into Britain. Vikings rode into America. Nomads roamed the steppes. Families sailed across oceans chasing dreams. So when someone today says, "These people don't belong here," remind them, movement is the most human thing we do. We're a species of wanderers. What did your ancestors eat? Not pizza, sadly. But history is full of lost flavors. Ancient grains like einkorn and emmer, hardly grown today, were staples for thousands of years. Romans dined on flamingo tongues and stuffed dormice. Mayans drank chocolate so bitter it would make you gag. In medieval Europe, spices like cinnamon and black pepper were worth more than gold. Wars were fought for nutmeg. Entire empires rose and fell on the smell of cloves. So next time you complain about bland cafeteria food, remember, once upon a time, a single spoon of black pepper could buy you a cow. Humans hate uncertainty, so we invent superstitions. Ancient farmers buried charms in their fields to protect crops. Sailors nailed horseshoes to ships for luck. Warriors carried talismans into battle. And guess what? You still do it. Knock on wood. Ancient pagan magic. Birthday candles. Fire rituals to ward off evil. Crossing your fingers. Medieval charm against witches. Superstition is just fear dressed up as tradition. And honestly, sometimes it works, if only to calm your nerves. Which, in survival terms, is half the battle. Crime isn't new. Theft, murder, betrayal, they've been around since the first village. What's wild is how we punish them. Ancient Babylonians cut off hands for theft. Romans crucified rebels. Medieval Europe invented torture devices straight out of horror movies. The rack, the Iron Maiden, burning at the stake. Justice was often brutal and public. Executions were entertainment. Whole crowds would cheer at a hanging. And yet, laws also evolved mercy. Fines instead of mutilation. Exile instead of death. Juries instead of kings. So yes, modern justice is flawed. But compared to being boiled alive for stealing bread, we've come a long way. Love stories shaped history as much as wars. Kings ruined kingdoms chasing forbidden lovers. Cleopatra and Antony nearly tore Rome apart. Courtly romances inspired poems and rebellions alike. But ordinary people, too, risked everything for love. A serf and a noble sneaking glances. A soldier writing letters to someone back home. A widow daring to remarry. Love has always been rebellious. It breaks class, culture, and sometimes law, which makes it dangerous and unstoppable. So the next time someone says romance novels are cheesy, remember, entire empires have crumbled because two people couldn't keep it platonic. Not everyone was a farmer or a warrior. History had some strange jobs. In medieval Europe, gong farmers, literally digging human waste out of cesspits. In China, eunuchs, castrated servants who ran imperial courts. In Rome, gladiators, celebrity slaves fighting for survival. Today, you complain about your boring desk job. But trust me, being a rat catcher in Plague Era London makes spreadsheets look heavenly. Fun isn't a luxury, it's ancient survival therapy. Board games like Senet in Egypt, Go in China, and Mancala in Africa entertained people for millennia. Wrestling and ball games were universal. Storytelling around fires was the original Netflix. Festivals were wild, dancing, drinking, singing until dawn. For a species living in constant danger, joy wasn't optional. It was how you stayed sane. So yeah, next time you binge watch a show at 3 a.m., remember, you're keeping a 300,000-year-old tradition alive. You're not lazy. You're historical. Death terrified humans and fascinated them. Egyptians built pyramids as giant resurrection machines. Vikings buried warriors in ships with weapons and treasure. Chinese emperors created entire underground armies, like the Terracotta Warriors. But it wasn't just kings. Ordinary people carved charms, wore amulets, lit candles, prayed endlessly, all to bargain with the inevitable. Death shaped religion, art, architecture, and philosophy. Honestly, most of civilization is just us trying to cope with mortality. And in a way, this video, it's the same thing. A story we tell so we're not forgotten. We could live another 1,000,000 years, or vanish in a century. Climate collapse, nuclear war, rogue AI, pandemics. Pick your apocalypse. Your ancestors looked at the stars with wonder. Now, we're building rockets to touch them. Same species, bigger toys. So what will be our legacy? Will the archaeologists of the future, whether alien or AI, find our ruins and laugh? Or will they whisper, "Here lived a species that dreamed bigger than its limits"? Imagine a world without words. No names. No instructions. No memes. Just grunts and pointing. That was humanity, until suddenly, language happened. Nobody knows exactly when or how, but at some point, one of your ancestors grunted in just the right way, and another understood. Boom, teamwork leveled up. Words became weapons. Watch out, saved lives. Follow me, built tribes. And gossip? Believe it or not, gossip was humanity's first social glue. Knowing who cheated, who stole, who betrayed, that was survival-level intel. So the next time someone tells you to stop gossiping, just say, "Sorry, I'm preserving 200,000 years of evolutionary tradition." You think progress is a straight line? Wrong. History is full of inventions that vanished. The Antiquity mechanism, a Greek computer from 2,000 years ago that tracked planets. Roman concrete, stronger and more eco-friendly than most modern stuff. The Baghdad battery, possibly ancient electricity. Whole technologies got lost because empires collapsed, libraries burned, or nobody bothered to write down instructions. So yeah, imagine someone in the year 40,000 finding your lost iPhone in the ruins of a city and going, "What god did these apes pray to?" Doctors are heroes today, but in the past, they were terrifying. Ancient healers drilled holes in skulls to let the demons out. They made you drink mercury, eat lead, or swallow crushed emeralds. The cure was often worse than the disease. Bloodletting was popular for centuries, because apparently, losing pints of blood makes everything better. Medieval Europe prescribed powdered mummies as medicine. Yep. Cannibalism with extra paperwork. And yet, amid the madness, there were breakthroughs. Herbs that really worked. Surgeries that saved lives. Midwives who knew more than entire universities. So next time you dread the dentist, remember, at least they're not shoving leeches in your mouth. We've always fought nature, and usually won, but at a cost. First, we wiped out giant animals. Mammoths, giant sloths, saber-toothed cats. They didn't stand a chance against coordinated hunters with fire. Then we reshaped landscapes. Forests cleared. Rivers dammed. Entire species erased. By the time of the Roman Empire, Europe's lions were already gone. And now, the fight is against climate itself, a battle we created. We've become gods of destruction, and gods don't always live long. The irony: we need nature to survive. Without it, we're just clever apes on borrowed time. Villages were cozy. Cities? They were chaos. Uruk, Babylon, Rome. Suddenly thousands of people crammed into tight spaces with questionable sewage systems. Disease spread like wildfire. Crime was constant. Noise never stopped. But cities also birth culture. Theaters, libraries, temples, marketplaces. Ideas spread faster when people lived elbow to elbow. A city is like a giant brain made of humans. Loud, messy, dangerous, but brilliant. And just like a brain, sometimes it short-circuits. Looking at you, Rome burning. Humans love trying to reinvent society. Sometimes it works. Sometimes, it's a disaster. Sparta raised kids to be warriors and basically banned weakness. Great for fighting. Terrible for poetry. Medieval monasteries banned sex, money, and pleasure. Spoiler: monks still snuck wine. 20th century utopias tried communal living, free love, or no government at all. Most collapsed within years. The truth is, we're too messy for perfect systems. Every utopia eventually cracks because, well, humans are involved. History remembers kings and conquerors, but forgets the quiet geniuses. The farmer who first domesticated wheat, feeding billions. The nameless engineer who figured out how to fit stones so perfectly in pyramids. The women who brewed, stitched, healed, and taught before anyone cared to write their names. For every Leonardo da Vinci, there were 10,000 anonymous thinkers whose work built the world we live in. So if you're feeling invisible, don't. Humanity runs on unsung geniuses. Here's a mindbender: humans invented time twice. Now, you check your phone 50 times a day. Time rules your life. Work hours, school bells, deadlines. But for most of human history, people woke up with the sun and slept with the dark. No alarms. No meetings at 9 sharp. Just the rhythm of nature. Which makes you wonder, are we masters of time or prisoners of it? Forget alcohol or coffee. Power is humanity's oldest addiction. Tribes had chiefs. Villages had elders. Cities had kings. Then came emperors, presidents, dictators. Always someone reaching for more control. And humans followed, sometimes willingly, sometimes not. Because power promises safety, glory, order. But too much of it. Corruption, oppression, collapse. History is basically rehab for power junkies. Spoiler: we keep relapsing. You think spring break is wild? Ancient festivals would make Vegas look tame. The Romans had Saturnalia, drunken chaos where slaves could boss masters around. The Celts had Samhain, bonfires, masks, and rituals to confuse spirits. Medieval Europe had Feast of Fools. Clergy got drunk and mocked their own church. Festivals were a way to flip the script, release tension, mock authority, embrace chaos before returning to order. Basically, humans invented parties as pressure valves. Same reason you karaoke at 2 a.m. We've always decorated ourselves. Tattoos, piercings, scarification, body paint. In Polynesia, tattoos told entire life stories. In Africa, scar patterns marked tribes. In Europe, nobles powdered wigs, painted faces, and wore perfume to hide the stench of no plumbing. Your body has always been your billboard, your tribe, your status, your rebellion. That nose piercing you got in college? Ancient tradition. Friend. You're basically an artifact. What about sleep? Sure, it's rest, but dreams? That's the nightly freak show. Ancients thought dreams were messages from gods. Shamans used them as visions. Kings had dream interpreters on payroll. Science says dreams are your brain sorting junk. But honestly, they still feel like portals. Flying, falling, meeting dead relatives. It's bizarre, universal, and deeply human. So when you wake up sweating from a dream about showing up to school naked, congrats. You just shared an experience with cavemen, emperors, and astronauts. And finally, through it all, humans ask the same question. Why? Why are we here? Why do we die? Why is there something instead of nothing? Every religion, every philosophy, every piece of art is just a different version of that same question. Maybe the answer is God. Maybe it's math. Maybe it's chaos. But maybe, just maybe, the act of asking is the point. That's what makes us human. And guess what? Now it's your turn. What's your answer? Comment below. If you could time travel to any moment in human history, where would you go, and why? Let's be real. Humans invented war almost as soon as we invented teamwork. It's like group projects in school. Some people cooperate, others just steal your food, and someone always ends up bleeding. The first wars were probably over resources. Water, land, mates. Small raids turned into battles. Battles turned into conquests. Soon, kings were carving their egos into clay tablets. I destroyed 47 villages and burned the rest. Yours truly, Gilgamesh. And war shaped everything. Politics, technology, even snacks. Yep, canned food was invented for Napoleon's army. GPS? Originally for missiles. So every time you check directions to Starbucks, thanks centuries of bloodshed. Humanity, turning chaos into convenience since forever. Here's a plot twist. Humans never stayed put. Migration is our default mode. We left Africa around 60,000 years ago, spreading across deserts, mountains, and frozen tundras. Some walked all the way to Australia. Others paddled to islands we didn't even know existed. And every step meant adapting. New foods, new climates, new dangers. The result? Today's diversity of languages, faces, cultures. All from restless wanderers who just couldn't sit still. So the next time you complain about moving apartments, remember, your ancestors casually walked across continents without Wi-Fi or podcasts. Before TikTok, before email, before smoke signals, there was trade. People swapped obsidian for shells, salt for grain, silk for spices. Trade routes like the Silk Road connected China to Rome. Along with goods came stories, ideas, diseases, religions. Think of trade as the first version of the internet. Messy, unpredictable, but connecting strangers across the world. And just like the internet, trade was addictive. Why make it yourself when you can buy it cheaper from someone else? That mindset built civilizations, and, eventually, your Amazon addiction. For most of history, we looked at the stars and saw gods, monsters, and cosmic spaghetti. Then, something changed. People like Archimedes, Ibn al-Haytham, Galileo, Newton started asking, what if the universe isn't magic? What if it's math? Cue centuries of experiments, telescopes, microscopes, explosions, and probably a lot of burnt eyebrows. The scientific method was born, and suddenly, humans weren't just surviving. We were explaining, predicting, building. Of course, science also gave us nuclear bombs and TikTok algorithms. But hey, progress isn't always pretty. Not every human brain works the same, and society hasn't always been kind about that. In ancient times, mental illness was blamed on spirits. People were exiled, locked up, or treated with rituals. The Middle Ages had asylums, places more like prisons than hospitals. And yet, out of madness came art, poetry, revolutions. Van Gogh painted with anguish. Nietzsche redefined philosophy on the edge of collapse. Countless unnamed souls lived realities others couldn't see. Today we call it mental health. But it's always been part of the human condition, the mind, in all its brilliance and fragility, shaping history. You are what you eat, and humans are obsessed. First, survival food, roots, berries, mammoth steaks. Then comfort food, bread, beer, cheese. Eventually, luxury food, caviar, chocolate, sushi. Every culture turned meals into identity. Italians had pasta, Mayans had maize, Indians had spice. Wars were fought over nutmeg. Yes, nutmeg. People literally died so you could sprinkle a little on your latte. Food isn't just fuel, it's culture, politics, memory. Which explains why your grandma guards her soup recipe like it's state secrets. Work is exhausting. Surviving is stressful. Humans needed fun, or else. Cue, games, music, theatre, sports. The first dice date back 5,000 years. Gladiator fights were binge-watching before Netflix. Shakespeare was basically prestige TV for Elizabethans. Entertainment wasn't just distraction, it was connection. A way to laugh, cry, scream together. Today it's streaming shows, esports, TikTok dances. Same purpose, new format. Because even clever apes need recess. Love. Biologically speaking, it's a hormonal cocktail to trick you into sticking around long enough to raise babies. But culturally, we turned it into poetry, songs, novels, and rom-coms. Ancient Greeks had multiple words for love: eros, philia, agape. Medieval knights invented chivalry, basically simping with swords. Love built families, fueled dramas, launched wars. Think Helen of Troy. Think every song on your playlist. So yeah, love might be an evolutionary hack, but it's also humanity's most powerful story. Here's the thing, humans are amazing at lying. Hunter-gatherers lied about where food was. Kings lied about being chosen by gods. Governments lied about wars. Today, influencers lie about their skincare routine. Propaganda built empires, started revolutions, toppled rulers. A good lie spreads faster than truth, because it's entertaining. The scary part? Lies are baked into our survival strategy. Sometimes they unite us. Sometimes they destroy us. But they're always with us. From stone tools to smartphones, technology is the human fingerprint. Every invention, fire, wheel, printing press, electricity, expanded what we could do. But every tool came with downsides. Fire cooks food, also burns villages. Cars move fast, also pollute. Internet connects, also fries your brain. We both worship and fear our tools. Ancient myths warned of Pandora's box and Prometheus's fire. Today we warn about AI and robots. The pattern never changes. We build, we benefit, we panic. Repeat. So, after 300,000 years, where do we go from here? Some say we'll colonize Mars. Others say we'll upload our minds into computers. Or maybe we'll collapse, leaving behind plastic fossils for alien archaeologists. The truth? Nobody knows. But if the past teaches anything, it's this: humans adapt. We screw up. We rebuild. We imagine. And we keep telling stories, like this one. Because stories are the one invention that never goes extinct. So here we are, 300,000 years of hunger, hope, chaos, and creativity. From caves to skyscrapers, from sticks to spaceships, from grunts to podcasts. Uruk, Mohenjo-Daro, Babylon, these places were loud, smelly, and alive. Imagine 30,000 people, no deodorant, no noise-cancelling headphones. Privacy? Non-existent. But cities gave us markets, temples, palaces, gossip, crime, art, and one thing humans never had before: strangers everywhere. Living in a city was like being trapped in the world's longest group chat, with zero mute button. Where there are crowds, there's crime. Ancient thieves stole bread, jewelry, and goats. Some scams were surprisingly modern: fake priests selling fake miracles, or merchants watering down wine. Governments invented laws to keep order. Think Hammurabi's code, eye for an eye. Brutal, but hey, at least it was clear. Prisons came later. Before that, punishments ranged from fines to exile to, well, let's just say public executions were the ancient equivalent of reality TV. Everyone watched, half horrified, half entertained. So next time you binge a true crime podcast, remember, you're just keeping a 10,000-year-old tradition alive. If cities were humanity's playground, they were also petri dishes. Diseases thrived in crowded, filthy streets. The Black Death wiped out half of Europe. Smallpox devastated the Americas. Cholera haunted water supplies. Pandemics reshaped history, ending feudal systems, toppling empires, rewriting borders. And yet, out of sickness came progress. Hospitals, medicine, vaccines. Louis Pasteur and Florence Nightingale changed the game. Fast forward to now, you know what it's like to live through a pandemic. Imagine that, but with no Netflix. Yeah, grim. Sometimes humans get tired of kings, taxes, or bad bread. Cue revolution. The French stormed the Bastille. The Americans dumped tea in Boston Harbor. The Haitians, the only successful slave revolt in history, built their own nation. Revolutions are messy, bloody, and unpredictable. One moment, liberty and equality. The next, guillotines and dictatorships. But they show something vital. Humans refuse to sit quietly forever. We break things. We rebuild. Sometimes better, sometimes worse, but always different. Every society makes rules about gender. Who hunts, who cooks, who rules, who cleans. And surprise, those rules change constantly. Some hunter-gatherer groups shared roles pretty equally. Ancient Egypt let women own property and run businesses. Medieval Europe shoved them back into kitchens. Fast forward to suffragettes fighting for votes, and still today debates rage about gender roles. The truth? Gender rules are human-made, fluid, contested, rewritten. And every rewrite shifts history. From cave paintings to TikTok filters, humans can't stop making art. Why? Survival doesn't really require it. But maybe survival isn't enough. Art is memory. Art is protest. Art is love letter. Art is therapy. Michelangelo carved stone into muscle and passion. Griots in Africa sang genealogies stretching back centuries. Jazz, hip-hop, graffiti, every generation invents its own voice. Art makes us more than animals. It makes us human. And sometimes, it makes us unbearable hipsters. Once upon a time, people traded chickens for grain. Simple. But chickens don't travel well, and they poop everywhere. So humans invented money. Shells, beads, gold, silver, then paper, then plastic, then numbers on screens. Money became power. Wars fought over it. Families torn apart. Whole empires collapsed when coins lost value. And today, money rules almost everything. You might not worship a god, but you probably pray to your bank account on rent day. Funny thing, money is just a collective story. It only works because we all agree it does. If that's not magic, what is? Every human dies. Every culture asks, what happens next? Burials in caves 100,000 years ago suggest we cared even then. Egyptians mummified pharaohs with treasures. Vikings sent warriors off in burning ships. Some cultures imagine reincarnation, others paradise, others nothing at all. Death shaped religion, philosophy, art. Cathedrals soared because humans feared the afterlife. The pyramids exist because kings couldn't accept endings. And yet, despite all our tech, we're still terrified of the same thing, the unknown silence. Maybe that fear drives everything we do. Somewhere along the way, wolves figured out it was easier to hang around human campfires than to hunt alone. Fast forward, dogs. Humanity's most loyal sidekicks. Cats. They domesticated us. Ancient Egyptians worshipped them. Medieval Europeans burned them. Today, the internet is basically a shrine to them. And pets tell us something profound. Humans don't just survive, we make friends across species. That's either adorable or deeply weird. Probably both. By the 1500s, Europeans were sailing everywhere, sometimes trading, often conquering. Spices, gold, guns, and enslaved humans moved across oceans. Globalization is messy. Cultures blended, but often violently. Languages mixed. Food recipes traveled. So did plagues. Fast forward, today you can eat sushi in Brazil, stream K-pop in London, or learn salsa in Tokyo. The world is one giant fusion restaurant, with political headaches on the side. For most of history, humans were too small to matter to Earth. Not anymore. We burned forests, dug mines, built factories, pumped carbon into the sky. The planet warmed. Ice melted. Seas rose. Weather went rogue. Now the question isn't just survival. It's survival on a planet we broke. Can we fix it? Can we adapt? Or will Earth shrug and move on without us? It's the most epic cliffhanger in the human saga. So what have we learned? That humans are brilliant, reckless, loving, violent, curious, terrified, hilarious, and endlessly creative. We built cities, broke them, rebuilt them. We lied, we loved, we fought, we sang. And through it all, we kept telling stories. You wake up on a wooden ship in the middle of an ocean you can't name. No GPS. No weather app. Just a captain with questionable confidence and a crew running low on fresh water. Congratulations. You're part of the great age of exploration. For most of human history, maps had blank spaces labeled, "Here be dragons." Then suddenly, humans decided, nah, let's poke the dragons. From Polynesian voyagers steering by stars to Vikings crossing stormy seas to Columbus stumbling into continents, humans spread across every inch of Earth. But exploration wasn't just curiosity. It was conquest, greed, and empire. Gold, spices, and land, often stolen. Peoples displaced. Cultures erased. The age of maps was also the age of scars. Fast forward to the Renaissance. Picture Galileo, leaning over a telescope, whispering, guys, the Earth isn't the center of the universe. Cue angry priests and awkward trials. Science cracked open reality. Newton dropped apples and invented physics. Darwin connected us to monkeys. Thanksgiving dinners haven't been the same since. Marie Curie glowed, literally, while discovering radioactivity. The scientific method became humanity's cheat code. Hypothesize, test, repeat. Suddenly, humans weren't just telling stories, we were proving them. And science made us unstoppable until we pointed it at weapons. Once upon a time, war was spears and swords. By the 20th century, machine guns, tanks, nukes. World War I chewed through an entire generation in mud-filled trenches. World War II ended with mushroom clouds rising over cities. Instant shadows burned into walls. For the first time, humans realized we could literally delete ourselves. That's not a comforting bedtime thought. And yet, out of wars came weirdly useful things. Penicillin mass-produced, radar, rockets, computers. Humans can't help but weaponize progress, then try to patch the damage afterward. In 1961, Yuri Gagarin went up. In 1969, Neil Armstrong stepped down. And for one shimmering moment, humans looked back at Earth and saw home. Tiny. Fragile. Blue. We planted flags on the moon, launched probes to Mars, sent golden records into the void with greetings in 55 languages, just in case aliens dig vinyl. Space isn't just science. It's mythology updated. We've always looked up at stars and imagined gods, heroes, destinies. Now we imagine colonies, terraforming, Elon Musk selling Martian real estate. The cosmos is our next desert, our next forest, our next cave wall waiting for handprints. Then came computers. Small at first. Then smaller. Then in your pocket. Then in your veins. Probably next week. The internet rewired everything. Suddenly you could talk to strangers across the world, stream cat videos, argue with trolls at 3 a.m., and yes, watch deep dive history videos like this one. Social media turned us all into performers. Likes, shares, comments, the new currency of belonging. Your brain is basically a dopamine slot machine now. Pull to refresh. Jackpot. One meme. We uploaded ourselves into the cloud. We live in the wires. Which begs the question, are we still Homo sapiens, or something else? Humans always dreamed of building brains outside skulls. Enter artificial intelligence. At first, it was chess programs and clunky chatbots. Now it's AI art, deepfakes, algorithms predicting your every move. Somewhere, a machine already knows what video you'll watch after this one. AI mirrors us. Our creativity, our bias, our fears. We've built something that might surpass us, or at least out-comment us on Reddit. Science fiction warned us, Skynet, HAL 9000, killer robots. Reality, more subtle. Maybe it won't kill us. Maybe it'll just replace us at work, school, even love. So here's the billion-dollar question. Do we control AI, or does AI control the story? You. Yes, you. Who are you? For most of history, identity was simple. Tribe, family, religion. Today, it's messy. Race, gender, nationality, politics, fandoms, zodiac signs, Hogwarts houses. Humans create identities like apps. Download, test, delete, rebrand. The 21st century is the first time humans can reinvent themselves daily. Online, you can be anyone, anywhere, which is liberating and terrifying. Because when everyone's everything, who's anything? Our ancestors feared storms, volcanoes, droughts. They built myths to explain them. Today, we don't need myths. We have climate science. And the diagnosis isn't good. Glacier retreating, oceans rising, heat waves cooking cities. Entire ecosystems unraveling like cheap sweaters. Here's the irony. Humans conquered Earth so thoroughly, we destabilized it. The Anthropocene, the age where humans are the asteroid. So, do we adapt with green tech, new cities, sustainable systems? Or do we burn out like a species that flew too close to its own industrial sun? Look ahead. You've got two visions. One, shining cities powered by clean energy, humans living alongside AI, colonies on Mars, diseases cured, art blooming in ways we can't imagine. A future where Homo sapiens doesn't just survive but thrives. 2. Collapse. Environmental breakdown. Rising seas swallowing cities. Wars over water. AI running amok. A species that peaked and then face-planted. Which path do we choose? That's the thing. We're the only species aware of its own possible endings. That's either a blessing or a curse. So here we are, 300,000 years after our first footsteps, staring into the unknown. We've been hunters, farmers, builders, destroyers, dreamers. We painted caves, raised pyramids, split atoms, built rockets, trained algorithms. We loved, we lost, we kept going. The story of Homo sapiens is still being written. By you, by me, by everyone alive right now. So ask yourself, what page are you adding? What story are you telling? Because in 1,000 years, if anyone looks back, your choices will be part of the record. If you've made it this far, wow! You've just time traveled through 300,000 years in one sitting. Respect. Now it's your turn. What do you think the next chapter of humanity looks like? Collapse, utopia, something in between? Drop your thoughts in the comments. I want to hear your wildest, smartest, weirdest predictions. And hey, if you enjoyed this ride through time, smash that like button, share this with a friend who loves big stories, and subscribe for more deep dives into history, science, and the strange saga of us. Because the story of Homo sapiens isn't over. And trust me, you'll want to stick around for the sequel.